What's up, friends? Welcome into episode 48 of Tables, Tailgates, and Top Loaders. So happy to have you all aboard for this episode. I'm your host, TB. Thank you so very much for stopping in and checking out the 3Ts. We have a lot to get to, so I don't want to waste any more time. Wrestling Marks, you are on the clock. How are we feeling after Elimination Chamber? We have a lot to talk about after the Chicago pay-per-view on Saturday night. Now, full disclosure, my wife and I were there in person at the United Center in Chicago. She had gotten me tickets to the show for my birthday, and this was the first time I was there. Now, I had gone and torn my meniscus about 2 weeks ago at this point, but we decided to still try to make the trip, and I hobbled my busted up self there, crutches and all. And we still had a great time. And this was, like I said, this was my first time in the United Center, so it was pretty special. I was a kid. I was about, 11? I think I've talked about this before, but I was about 11 years old. And when I was a kid growing up, one of the things I loved the most was watching Chicago Bulls basketball with my dad. I was a huge Bulls fan, had the starter coat. Michael Jordan was my favorite player, still is my favorite player of all time. I just loved it. We watched pretty much every game, followed them through the whole decade plus of time that, they were winning championship after championship. So for me to be in the arena where all this Michael Jordan magic and those teams were assembled, it was pretty special. Now, being on crutches, I wish I could have walked around the arena a bit more, seen some of the trophies, spent some time with the statues and things like that, but at least we were there to see the show, the Elimination Chamber, and that's all that matters. And talking about the Bulls, I got to start with CM Punk versus Finn Balor and that match, and more specifically, CM Punk's entrance, because holy cow, this was awesome. You want to talk about paying homage, paying tribute to the iconic Michael Jordan and the teams of the 90s, those 1990 Chicago Bulls teams. CM Punk came out to their entrance music that was used to announce this team specifically back in the 90s, and they even brought back legendary PA announcer Ray Clay to do the introduction of CM Punk. It was fantastic. It was awesome to hear that. I got almost chills when it started, and to see the promo package, and the whole thing was beautifully done. It was well done. It was awesome. And having seen those Bulls entrances hundreds and hundreds of times as a kid, and then getting to actually be in the same building and recreate that feel for the hometown hero CM Punk, it was truly awesome. It was magical. It was probably the highlight of the entire night. It was spectacular. I can't say enough good things about the start of that match and the intro. And I will say that even though Finn Balor lost, it was a great match. It was a great match. Those two put on a show. Fantastic. Nothing bad to say. I was sad that Finn Balor didn't actually win. And at some point in the match, there was probably a moment where I was like, could they actually do this? Could Finn actually pull this off? That's all I needed. I needed that small glimmer of hope. Obviously, he didn't win. I knew he had no chance. But for that one fleeting moment to actually believe that he could win in Chicago against the hometown hero was awesome. And I knew deep down he had no chance, but the presentation and the match itself was outstanding. The post-match handshake between Finn and CM Punk was classic, and it really solidified the respect that these two have for each other. That was a special moment for me as a fan, as a kid, talk nostalgia runs, and just being in that building to do the whole Chicago Bulls entrance for CM Punk with the PA announcer. It was awesome, and I'm so blessed, and just I can't believe I got to be there to see that in person. But yeah, that was a freaking highlight, and definitely something I will remember forever. But the rest of the show, the women's chamber match, let's start with that. Now, here's the thing. In person, it could be a bit tricky seeing some of the spots in the Elimination Chamber, because, you put this huge structure on top of the ring, and look, unless you're sitting like front row and you have your view, like your sight is dead straight on, it's going to be not always the easiest viewing experience. But I tell you, it was quite the spectacle to see this chamber in person. I have always wanted to be there for a chamber match. It was on my bucket list, and shout out to my wife for being able to hook your boy up for his birthday. But it was awesome. But the women's match, they went safe. We had talked about it in the preview preview. They went safe with Rhea Ripley winning, and I totally get it. I had wanted Alexa Bliss, but I thought Rhea would actually win, and that's exactly what happened. I rewatched this one back once we got home, and I kind of liked it better after the rewatch. I'll be honest. I thought it was really solid match in person, but I thought after the rewatch, it was even better. I thought all 6 of the women did really well. Kiana James, look, she is here to stay, and she put herself on the map with this performance. She was great. Raquel Rodriguez showcased herself as a dominant powerhouse force. I absolutely loved what she did in the chamber, just exerting her power, her will, her dominance all over the place. She's setting herself up for a good run. I would like to see her with some gold soon. Tiffany Stratton, look, I have kind of said she's kind of taken a few steps down, but wow. Rewatching this, Tiffy Time took some damage in this match. I mean, she was getting her ass beat, and I give her a ton of credit. She looked really strong. It was nice to see her bounce back after some less than stellar matches over the last month or so. And Rhea Ripley, I mean, what can you say at this point other than she is fantastic? She's great, and it's going to be a good showdown between her and Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. I think it was a really good chamber match, and it was a great start to the show. And like I said, having rewatched it back once we got home, you pick up some of the smaller details that you miss seeing live in person. But yeah, I thought it was great. So let's talk about the second match of the night, the disappointment match. This was Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee for the Intercontinental title. Now this one, I gotta tell you, this one shocked me. I was shocked that they put the title on AJ. I just don't think AJ looked good in this match at all. Now, you'll probably say, well, that's because Becky Lynch is one of your favorites, and she is, but I think Becky carried the crap out of this match. I think she tried like hell to carry her and to make AJ look good. 10 years is a long time to be out of the game. So I don't know whether she is actually running through matches on the side, but I don't know. I don't know. I think the match was entertaining, but I don't know what the long-term story is with AJ winning this IC belt. She came out on Monday Night Raw last night. She issued kind of an open challenge, and now there's going to be this gauntlet match with a whole bunch of women, I think 6 or 7 women, to determine who the number one contender is to face her, probably at WrestleMania. But there was no sign of Big Time Bex on Monday Night Raw, so I'm not sure what to think. I was hoping that they would run this back at WrestleMania, but I don't know if that's going to be in the cards for Becky. So I don't know where they turn or who Becky will feud with next, or maybe she takes some time off, but I'm just not sure AJ Lee is a fit for a long title run, and I hope that's not what we're getting. Yeah, it's fine. You pop the crowd a little bit, but I don't know. At one point in Chicago, they were chanting "You can't wrestle," and it was kind of rough. It was kind of rough. I did think, like I said, I thought the match was entertaining, but I do think that Becky Lynch did a ton of the heavy lifting in this match. So yeah, I was definitely disappointed that they took the belt off Becky and gave it to AJ, but what are you going to do? And then before we get to the main event, before we talk about the men's Elimination Chamber match, let's take a second to talk about the big crate reveal. This was the crate opening, probably heard around the world. I mean, look, Sometimes it's so easy to fall in line with all the internet haters, with all the online wrestling community. Look, it's very similar. I've talked about this before. The internet online wrestling community is very similar to Bill's Mafia and the vocal clowns that just go and crap all over everything. So it's easy to fall in line with all the crap that the internet has put out since Saturday and the big crate reveal. I have to be honest, in person, seeing this in person, being in the arena for this event, it was a bit of a letdown. And I guess that's because we like to psych ourselves up into having these ridiculous expectations that I just don't think it's ever possible that our expectations are going to be met. Well, what are our expectations? Who knows? We talked about it. Well, what's in the crate? Like what would the possibilities have even been? And we talked about Chris Jericho, and everyone's hoping Chris Jericho is coming at some point. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't even know at this point. But would there have been a scenario in which we would have been happy? And that's the thing I go back to. When you are doing something like this and you have a month to prep for an event to happen and you're really not sure which way it could go and you set your own expectations, you set them so high that it has no choice but to fail. Would Chris Jericho actually coming out of the crate have made sense? No, probably not at all. But would he have gotten booed out of the building? Probably no to that too. And that's kind of where the issue lies. So the crate is wheeled onto the stage. The GMs come out, they get their crowbars, they're prying open the lid, and all of a sudden you see a coffin. And I'm like, oh, this is weird, right? And then the lid to the coffin pops open, and then suddenly you see a bunch of dancing vampire girls, and this leads the way for the debut of Danhausen. Now, I've heard of Danhausen, but honestly, I wasn't totally familiar with his work. And it's one of those things where you're in the moment and you're kind of looking around with everybody else and everyone's like, what the hell is this? So I just turned to my wife and I go, well, that was kind of disappointing. So he gets to the ring. They're all dancing around. They're all in vampire, face paint and all kinds of stuff. He does his pose. He goes down. He hands Michael Cole some teeth in a jar, and then he just disappears under the ring. And then that's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. So everyone's like, what? What just happened? And so then the place literally is raining booze down on this thing. Just raining booze all over the United Center. It was a bit crazy. Now, look, I watched Monday Night Raw last night. I saw his backstage segment with Adam Pearce. I thought it was great. And then he's introduced to the Judgment Day. And now I understand what the purposes of bringing him on board is. And look, I'm totally on board. So in the span of 3 days, I've done a 180. And, it's because you allow your expectations to kind of like psych yourself up so much that nothing could ever meet what you hope it's going to be. And like I said, I don't know. But going back to what I've talked about, wrestling being this whole big variety show, there needs to be something for everybody. And I think bringing Danhausen in fills in a definite niche for some people. He's going to be this dark comedy aspect of the show. And it's all about like, he's gonna kind of play up to the kids, but I like some of these gimmicks. I like some of this stuff. We talked about R-Truth way back when I started the podcast and the role R-Truth has as far as the comedy act, and we talked about some of these guys from before with Santino Marella and certain character wrestlers like that. And it's kind of lacking. This role is lacking in the product right now. And so I'm totally okay with it. So he shows up on Monday Night Raw. He curses Dom Mysterio, which I thought was great. And then Dom goes on and loses the IC belt to Penta. And look, if they play their cards right, now you have a automatic feud between Dominic and Danhausen. That would be great. It would be great. I think it would be a good story to tell right off jump if they do it right. Now, obviously you have Finn there, and how do I know, or how do we know what the next feud's going to be? Is Finn going to feud with Dom? Who knows? But to have Danhausen versus Dirty Dom right off jump, I think that would be a great feud. Depending on how they want to handle Finn Balor, I think that would be fantastic. I think it could be a lot of fun. I think you could have... You could really entertain the crowd, and that's an aspect of wrestling that's kind of lacking right now. I know they're trying to do it a little bit with the Grande Americano thing, but I that seems to be just dragging. But we shall see what happens. So Danhausen, look, yeah, at first I was like, what the hell is this? And then the more now that I can actually see what the vision is, and if they lean into this, I think it would be good for the company, good for the product, and kind of mix things up a little bit. So we shall see. But let's talk about the main event, the men's chamber match. We got to start with the first entrant, Trick Williams. Dude, oh my goodness, this guy is over as you can imagine. I mean, this guy has star power written all over him. He should be on a path to a major title very soon. They need to take advantage of this. They can't let this sit. This dude is fire. He comes out, his music hits, and the entire arena is just chanting, "Whoop that Trick!" And it was, I was joining in. I'll admit it. It was fun, and this guy is star written all over him. So please, WWE, take advantage of this. Strike while the iron's hot. People already love this guy. He has the total package. Strap a rocket to his back and get him right into a title picture. Javon Evans, his in-ring ability is off the charts. I mean, your eyes, even in a six-man match, you're glued to this guy. You're glued to him when he's in the ring. He's flying all over the place. His in-ring ability is fantastic. It's crazy. So a couple little tweaks here and there, a little character work, a little mic work, and I think literally WWE can print money off of this guy. So these two guys are fantastic. And then if we can get Oba, pushed to the moon, some of these new guys they got coming in to the main roster, fan-freaking-tastic. Can't wait to see what happens during 2026. But looking at some of the reviews of this men's match, some said this match was an overbooked mess with all the interferences, all the extra people added. I totally disagree. I think this is exactly what you need to do with a match like this. Number one, the rest of the show was pretty straightforward. So saving all the run-ins for this match made total sense. And number two, this is exactly where you have it because there's a lot of people. There's so much happening and I love it. I love it. And it's already kind of messy with the whole chamber thing anyway. So just bring everybody in and have a freaking free-for-all. It was awesome. So yeah, there's not much else. Everything else kind of played it straight. Like Finn Balor and CM Punk, there was no interference. That was a straight match. Now there's a little ref shenanigans with the Becky AJ match, but all in all, that was pretty straightforward. And then the women's match, that was as straightforward as it gets. So yeah, put all the schmazola in this men's match, and it was great. And it made total sense. So the hooded figures coming in, they were fakes, and leading to the next hooded figure, stomping out Logan Paul after he had eliminated single-handedly 3 of the 6 entrants. And then you have the Seth Rollins reveal after the curb stomp to Logan Paul. Seth pulling off the mask, everyone knew it was going to be him, but the reveal itself was brilliant. We all knew that it would be him eventually, but it didn't make it any less awesome. So I was jazzed. It was fantastic. And anytime you get a not surprise, Seth Rollins reveal, I think it's magic, and it was a welcome sight in my book. The Drew run-in that happened shortly thereafter, where he came in, he hit Cody Rhodes with the belt. You figured he was going to interject himself into this match some way, somehow. It didn't make it any less awesome there either. So I thought it was great. And I'm pretty sure everyone else, including myself, was getting a little nervous when it was down to Cody and Randy as the last 2 entrants in this match. So I'm like, please, something happen and get Cody out, because I can't. I know we'll probably end up there next Friday, but that's for another show. But the Drew run-in, the smash on Cody, it was awesome. And then instantly, Randy waiting that split second and hitting him with the RKO to drop Cody as soon as they got rid of Drew McIntyre was fantastic. I thought the ending to this match was perfect. I thought the timing was on point. I thought it flowed smoothly right into the very surprising RKO that came out of absolute nowhere, and the 1, 2, 3 for Randy Orton. Chicago went crazy. They were very happy with the ending. Yeah, I don't know if people really want to see Cody with the belt anymore. He's got his entrance. Everyone loves the entrance. And then kind of like, okay, you can go off to the back now, because nobody really wants to see him with the belt. I sure as hell don't. And so seeing Randy RKO him out of nowhere after the Drew interference and run-in was fantastic. And getting Orton to the title match, hopefully we get there at WrestleMania, because I would love to see Randy win the belt at Mania. But yeah, all in all, I thought it was a really good show. I thought it was a ton of fun to be there in person. Some of the match outcomes weren't what I was hoping for, but hey, look, it's professional wrestling and that's to be expected. I'm not going to get what I want, but I thought this was a fantastic show. My wife and I had a ton of fun. And so I think I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 4 turnbuckles. Now, maybe that's a little higher because I was actually there in person, but hey, what can I say? I had a great freaking time. Having said that, I don't really recommend trying to go to a pay-per-view event on crutches. It's not the easiest thing to deal with, and most people, well, some do, but most people don't care that you're hobbling around on crutches, and they could care less. They'll kick your legs out if they given the opportunity. So whatever. But there was no way in hell I was going to miss this, and it was so much fun. But anyway, this is going to be a nice segue right into the top loader portion of the show. Car enthusiast, you are on the clock. How are we feeling? Because Topps WWE Universe just hit the shelves this week, and well, it has been a very long time coming. Topps hasn't exactly nailed down the return. They haven't really crushed it so far, getting the WWE license back under their wing, under their umbrella. It started out great. Last January 2025, they started out on fire with the return of Topps Chrome WWE. That was a smash hit. We talked about that before. It was my favorite product of the year. And then they went basically into hibernation for the rest of the program for the rest of the year. I know they came out with a few things here and there, but it was kind of a mess, and it was delay after delay, and I'm not really sure what happened, but here we are in March of 2026, and we're finally getting 2025 Topps WWE Universe. So yeah, they are a bit behind. And the problem with delays is that there are a ton of wrestlers in this product that aren't even employed with the WWE any longer. So that could be problematic when you spend a lot of money opening this up and then you realize none of these people, or not none, but a good portion of these people no longer have jobs, especially when you hit an auto of someone that isn't even with the company. That could be a little frustrating. But the base set to this, 300 cards. The first 200 are your standard wrestlers, and then the next 100 are what they call base event variations. So they'll focus on like a specific pay-per-view, a specific show, something like that. So a little different. Before you dive in, because these prices are going through the roof, I would encourage everyone, if you are interested, maybe watch some openings, look over the checklist. These are paper products. They're not chrome, so the quality isn't as great as you're going to see in the upcoming 2026 Topps Chrome release that they're starting to hint at. I have no idea when this is coming out. Everything seems to be delayed, but I'm expecting a pre-sale on that very soon. But anyway, back to the Universe product. As far as parallels go, there are currently, as far as what I'm seeing, there are 12 parallels to each card, which isn't great, but it isn't terrible either. I think with Baseball Series 1, you had 50 freaking parallels. It was ridiculous. So to have 12, that's much more manageable, and we shall see what happens. So now on a personal level, I was able to order four blaster boxes before the prices for WWE Universe went through the freaking roof. Now, each blaster I bought, this was $24.99, so $25. And I was able to get them through Fanatics, if you could believe it. It was very limited window, but yeah, I was able to order 4, so it dropped 100. Now let's talk about it. So because now these same blasters are going for 50, 55, 60 bucks on the secondary sites. It's crazy. But my personal review, let's start with the base cards. These are what I just talked about. The first 200 base cards. The design, I have to be honest, folks, I am not a fan at all of the first 200 base card design. I've watched openings online, and online when you're looking at some of these openings online, the base cards look bigger on the card. Like the wrestlers look bigger on the card. In person, it's totally different in person. And then this usually isn't the case. A lot of times I like the cards better when I'm opening them myself. This is not the case at all. I open these, and the ratio on the base card, the ratio of the superstar to the card, the background portion of the card, I think it's way off. I think the wrestler is way too small. I mean, way too small. And if, God forbid, you get a horizontal card, I think it's even worse. The wrestler is smaller. I absolutely hate them. Specifically the sideways ones. They're stupid, but the regular base cards, the vertical ones, I don't like them. I think it's kind of disappointing because wrestling cards are some of my favorite cards to collect. Now, listen, I'm not a snob when it comes to collecting base. I actually enjoy collecting base. I like putting sets together, and I take my time when I open product. I go through the base, I read the backs, I look at them, like I enjoy them. But unfortunately for me, with this Universe set, this is not it at all. So the first 200 base cards, numbers 1 through 200, not for me. But things get a little bit better when you look at the last 100 of the base checklist. So the whole checklist, 300 cards, first 200, trash. So 201 to 300. Now these are a little different because these are the event cards, the WWE event card. The proportion's a little different. So about 2/3 of the card in the picture is the actual wrestler, and then it's a small icon of the event that the picture was taken from. Plus on the back, and I know, how dare I read the actual back of these cards, but they write a synopsis of that wrestler and that event. So I like it. It's way better, way better. So a third of the base I like, 2/3 I hate, trash. Where I think this set really takes off is the inserts. Now, many people just pass over the inserts, but I think there are some pretty dope inserts in Topps Universe. I think some of the designs are pretty fire. So there's one called Namesakes. I love these. These are great. They have almost a full-scale picture of the wrestler, and behind them is their individual logo, which I think is the nice touch. These look absolute fire. I pulled a CM Punk namesake, so it shows a picture of him, almost full scale, and or on the card, full picture of him. And then behind him, it shows his two hand-wrapped fists, and it says "Best in the World," kind of arcing around the photo. And I think those are great, and that's exactly what I need. So give me more of the namesake cards. They look great. Another insert, the ringleaders. I think these are very cool. To me, that's the design of what the base card should have looked like for this product. Another one, dazzling debuts. These aren't terrible. They're not great. They're not terrible. The colors seem a little weird, but I do like how it lists the date and the event that the wrestler debuted. To me, if you are a flagship fan for baseball, Topps Series 1, 2, and Update, these are kind of like the rookie debut cards in Topps Series 2 and Update. I really appreciate these types of cards. I like to know stuff like this. There's also one called the Rage Inserts. These are really cool. I managed to pull a gold stone Uncle Howdy Rage insert, which is numbered to 75. I think it's probably the best card I pulled out of the 4 blasters. And full disclosure, I did get an auto, but this kind of goes back to the beginning talking about this product when I said that there's an issue with the delay in getting these cards out. Don't forget, this is a 2025 Topps Universe set that's releasing in 2026. There's wrestlers who are no longer in the company. So I pulled an autograph of NXT General Manager Ava. This is The Rock's daughter, and whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's not the best, considering she made some pretty hot topic, pretty political comments right before she kind of walked out the door, didn't re-sign. They offered her a new contract. She kind of turned it down, and she's no longer with the company. But hey, to get an auto out of a blaster box tells you that there's a chance at least. So yeah, all in all, I think it was a fun rip. If I had to spend $60 instead of 25, there's no chance. There's no chance. I don't think that these cards are worth anywhere near that. But if you can get them for $25, I think it's a good price point. I would be in at that price point. But what else is on the horizon? Topps Exalted WWE was listed for pre-sale for about, 60 seconds. And we've talked about this before, the craziness with the pre-sales and the EQLs. With this set, Topps is definitely venturing into the higher end with some of their wrestling products. This is one pack. You get one single pack. You get 5 cards. You're supposed to get 2 autos and 1 relic. And this is the product that is supposed to have event-worn memorabilia from John Cena's last WrestleMania. Right now, the cheapest you can find this product, WWE Exalted, is for right around $325 a box. So that's going to be a hard pass for me. But if you're feeling adventurous, I would dive right into Exalted. Bowman's Best Baseball comes out next week. This is usually a pretty big product in the scope of Bowman. Yeah, it looks great. Some of the cards look absolute fire, but your buy-in cost is $500. $500 for a hobby box currently on your secondary markets. And for me, that's just not happening. I can only talk about it so many times, but it's just like it's not that I don't have the money. It's just I can't operate in that area of this hobby where I'm dropping $500 for a box of cards. It's absolutely ridiculous. So personally, I'm kind of getting back into buying up singles all over the place. I love to get onto eBay and check out what's going on, but baseball is about to start. I love to search for my guys that I PC and try to find some good deals. I just grabbed the 1991 throwback on-card auto from Topps Series 1 of CJ Abrams. Look, I've told you before, Topps Series 1, I'm digging it. And the throwback cards, I love my throwback cards. That card is fire. The auto is super clean. The card looks great. And I paid less than $18 for an on-card auto of CJ Abrams. Is he a freaking superstar? Is he Aaron Judge? No, but he's a guy at PC. I like the Nats. My son loves the Nats. And so there's some guys on that team. I love to PC CJ Abrams and Dylan Cruz and James Wood. And I mean, come on. $18 for on-card CJ Abrams fire auto? Whoa. You can't go wrong with that. But also some of the other stuff, I grabbed some Diamante parallel singles for super cheap. It's probably my favorite parallel out of Series 1. They're hanger box exclusive, so I think the price point for a hanger box is perfect. Don't bother with the retail value boxes. They're absolute trash. But if you can get your hands on some hangers and you have interest in Series 1 baseball, then go for it. And then I missed out on this Stadium Club release, but what I did, I went and I bought a bunch of the baby blue singles, some of the baby blue parallels. They're super cheap. That I was able to get like 5 or 6 of them for, I don't know, less than $10, and I think they look awesome. I love the way they look, love the color parallel. So that's kind of where the space I'm living in these days, and it's a lot of fun, and I could get way more bang for my buck than dropping $500 on a hobby box of something. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap up the card portion of the program. Bills Mafia, you are on the clock. How are we feeling? Can we please speed up this portion of the offseason, because not much is happening outside of the Spencer Brown restructure. I mean, this happened last week. It was one we saw coming from a mile away. Last year, Spencer Brown signed a 4-year, $72 million contract extension, which I still think is a pretty good deal considering. I think he's become one of the top right tackles in football, at least top 10, if not higher. And he was an obvious restructure candidate. He's definitely going to be on the team for at least the next few years. So they went ahead, they flipped the switch, they kicked the can down the road a little bit for certain parts of that deal, and they instantly saved themselves $10.5 million. So easy peasy, no problem there. That makes total sense. I have no issue with that. But everything else, other than that move, it's been nothing but speculation. It's article after article, it's report after report of who the Bills have been linked to. They are linked as one of the possible teams listed in the Max Crosby trade sweepstakes. Now, how do we feel about that? Do we want to be involved in the Max Crosby trade speculation? Because look, there's a couple problems with this deal. It's going to cost you at least a first round pick plus. Are we okay with giving multiple picks for Max Crosby and then still having to pay this guy? He's going to want a big deal. I'm not really sure what the cost is on his contract. I don't think it's crazy, but he's going to want some kind of extension. So you're talking about high trade cost plus extra money added in that I'm not sure we can operate in that scenario. Another player, AJ Brown. Look, we're probably not going to have to give up as high of draft picks to get A.J. Brown as we would Max Crosby, but the money seems a lot more reasonable for his deal. I think the first 2 years of this, we could easily fit under our cap situation, and the money, I think he signed with Philly for the next 3 seasons, so he has 3 to go. It seems like a pretty manageable deal, and from what I'm hearing, it's probably going to cost you about a second-round pick for A.J. Brown. How do we feel about that? I'd be down for 2 to 3 years of A.J. Brown. You know, you're going to get him on his best behavior as soon as he walks in the door. I think if you can tell me 2 of the 3 years are going to be high quality, top 10, top 15 receiver in the league production out of A.J. Brown for a second round pick, yeah, I think I would sign up for that. Other things, multiple league executives are linking, well, we've said this name before, Rashid Shaheed, and here's the new one, Romeo Doubs to the Bills. Romeo Doubs coming from the Packers. Shaheed, obviously, he was the free agent, or not free agent, but the trade deadline acquisition of Seattle. I'd be fine with either of them, but here's the thing, it needs to be cheap because I don't want another number 3 or number 4 receiver. I want a number 1 receiver. I want a number 1. Can either of these guys be a number 1? No chance. Romeo Doubs is probably closest to number 1, but I think he's a number 2 at best. And he, look at the stats. I'm not saying he can't flourish with Josh Allen, but I don't know. I want a number 1 receiver. I'd be fine with either of them, but it has to be cheap, and it cannot be the only move we make to solidify that wide receiver room. Don't tell me that you're signing one of these guys and then Brandon Beane goes and hangs the offseason championship banner. Like, that doesn't solve the problem of totally addressing the wide receiver room. Mike Evans, we talked about this last week. Now reports are linking him to the Bills. I don't know where these reports come from. I don't know who comes up with this stuff, but it's just like, oh, the Bills need receivers, so we're going to link A.J. Brown, Romeo Doubs, Rashid Shaheed, Mike Evans, everybody that can catch a football in the last 10 years is going to be linked to the Bills. Great, fine, whatever. This is the same thing they used to do with running backs before we signed James Cook to an extension. Every running back under the sun was somehow linked to the Bills, and now we're doing it for the wide receivers, so whatever. Yeah, I mean, Mike Evans, I talked about this last week. Can we get him in town, signed up for 1 to 2 years on a manageable deal? I can't pay this dude $20+ million a year. Can we pay him 13, 15 million? I'd be fine with that. But is he going to want to take almost a pay cut to come play with Josh Allen in Buffalo and potentially win a championship? I would love to see Mike Evans get one more ring. You add Mike Evans and then a Rashid Shaheed. Okay, now we're talking. Or go draft someone much more cost controlled in the draft in the first 2 rounds of the draft. Yeah, I would be all on board. So, but the problem is it's all guessing. People are just guessing, and that's part of the problem with this portion of the offseason. It's just guessing. So get me to next week, get some stories flowing, get some deals done, and then we can come on here and we can talk about it and we can see what everybody thinks. Bills are thankfully off of the international slate of games for 2026. And the only thing I got to say in response to this is good. Good. Because to me, this has gone way too freaking far. This push to grow the game internationally, I think, is getting completely out of control. It's getting completely out of hand. I don't like it one bit. I think it takes away from the fan base of whoever these home teams are that are losing a game to another country. It's very similar to me and my attitude about losing the Royal Rumble this year to Saudi and then losing WrestleMania next year to Saudi Arabia. Like, it's all nonsense. Like, don't give up our games to other countries. I don't know. You want to go do preseason or exhibition games over there? Fine. But this is like, who as a fan of a NFL team is supposed to feel good about this? Who likes this? Is there a single fan in the United States rooting for a team that wants to see their team play in another country as the home team, mind you? Like, do you want it to happen just so you can travel someplace else and watch your team? I mean, are you that desperate to go travel that you have to wait for your team to give up a home game and then go spend way more money than you would have to spend to see your team play anywhere else in the United States? And just so you could travel? I don't know. I'm kind of over this. It's just getting worse and worse every year. And now here we are. In 2026, there's going to be an NFL record 9 international games for the upcoming season. They're going to Spain. They're going to France. They're going to Brazil. They're going to Germany. They're going to Mexico. And they're going to freaking Australia. Are you serious? Are you really going to go to Australia to watch your team play? I mean, come on. Unless you are filthy rich and you got hundies like laying in your couch cushions, like what are we talking about? Who is actually ponying up the money to go see their team play in Australia? I mean, we're talking about a very, very small percentage of these fan bases that have the means to go travel internationally to some of these games. It's just, I don't know. And hey, Jaguars, Jacksonville, what are you doing? You're going to London again for 2 more games again? And this time you're signing up to be the home team for both games? Are you kidding me? And you're telling me it's because of stadium renovations? Look, there's 52 weeks in a year, 52 weeks in a calendar year. You can't work on your stadium in the regular football offseason. There aren't enough weeks in the year in sunny Florida to fix your beat up old ass stadium outside of the regular season. Whatever the cost is to be a season ticket holder for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would want like a third of that slashed off immediately just because you're dealing with this ridiculousness. I don't know. But I guess it's better. I guess they're preparing the fans for 2027 when they don't have any home games at all. So who knows? But come on, Jags, really? What are we doing? Can we do stadium renovations in the off season? I don't know. But let's end on a positive note because here we go, Bills Mafia. The Bills did make one signing, and buckle up because Sam Franklin Jr. is back. That's right. He signed a 3-year deal worth upwards of $7.5 million. This is a special teams only player. So if that doesn't get you fired up for the regular season, I'm not sure what will. But I think that will wrap up this episode of the 3 T's. If you have enjoyed this episode of Tables, Tailgates, and Top Loaders, or any other episode, please do your boy a favor. Hit that follow, hit that like, share it with someone who is a fellow Mafia member, a avid card collector, or someone who just loves professional wrestling. Help your boy out because I'm trying to grow this one episode at a time. And as always, I appreciate y'all very, very much. So until next time, whether it's ripping packs, breaking tables, or dropping elbows, keep doing what you love. And as always, go Bills.